Well, hello everyone and welcome to Momentum channel. My name is Mo, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about the important topic of safe withdrawal rate. This topic is very much applicable, particularly to those who are on their journey to financial independence and envision one day they want to retire earlier. In a nutshell, safe withdrawal rate talks about the percentage that you can safely withdraw or take out of your portfolio of investments without worrying that you're going to run out of money over the years. It is, of course, not a simple topic, and it depends on so many different factors. What are some of the alternative sources of income you may have at certain age? So, for example, for some of us, when we hit certain age, we might have some defined benefit pensions. It's not applicable to everybody. For some of us, it may. The other thing is, for example, things like social security, old age security, and maybe if depending on your income level, you might have alternative provincial and federal related funds that are paid out to you. All of them play a part in calculating what that percentage of safe withdrawal rate might be. In this video, I'm going to talk about this topic, which is really fascinating to me as I plan for early retirement for my wife and I, hopefully within the next decade or so. I'm also going to talk about the topic of total return and why in many ways it could be superior and really provides you much more advantage compared to more traditional ways of thinking about income, for instance, just focusing on dividend income. Lastly, for those of you who may be interested, I'll provide a quick overview of the investment portfolio that my wife and I have currently sitting well over $500,000. Without any further ado, let's get into it. When it comes to the topic of withdrawal rate, one of the resources that I think is absolutely crucial for many investors to familiarize themselves with is earlyretirementnow.com. It consists of a series of posts and articles that has done a phenomenal job of doing research really based on various repeatable factual data, as well as an easy to use Google calculator that can be used by many of us to actually customize our projections and see what is the safe withdrawal rate based on our unique circumstance. I've downloaded a copy of this safe withdrawal rate calculator. It's called Early Retirement Now SWR Toolbox. This is version 2. If it may be a little bit overwhelming at first for those of you who may not have used it before, and even it was the same case for me. But there was actually video that is shared as part of that blog post on Early Retirement Now that you can watch that video tutorial. It shows you exactly how you can go about keying in some of those numbers. I'm going to walk you through at a high level what I've keyed in here. I've masked some information such as, for example, the birth date from my wife and I. And in this case, what we've done, I've put kind of some dummy data. I've assumed that, let's say, we're going to start our early retirement, let's say in 2034, roughly, let's say in about 10 years from today. I've keyed in the age, our date of birth and whatnot, and based on that, put the portfolio total size that I was expecting we will have, let's say, at the time that you start our early retirement potentially. That's why it says portfolio today, which would be the value at the time of starting. And that's why you see from the year and months 2034 for months. The inflation for now per annum is keyed in at 2%. You can play with this number and see how things go. A number of other things that I'm going to quickly show you. You do see there's this on the tab for cash flow assist. Here's where you could actually key in some of the expected additional income that you may receive. So for example, for us, I've assumed that if I were to continue to, say, work for the next 10 years for my current employer, approximately my monthly pension amount by the time that I hit 55, how much that would be if I started receiving it, it would be roughly $1,800 per month. I've keyed it in here. And as you see, as I go down, by the time that we hit the age of past 65, I've started adding actually the approximate additional things like CPP and old age security based on the what expected numbers I currently see. So I've added that for myself as well as for my wife once she's hit that 65, and then continued it for until perpetuity in this case, all the way until we hit even the age of, I believe, almost 110 years old. Which I hope if we are healthy, we continue to live that long, but I'm not sure if that's going to actually be in reality. Even with those circumstances and based on these numbers, what ended up happening, if now we hover over to the first tab, which is parameters and main results, you do see that there are some other key inputs. what portion of our portfolio is actually in the US large cap businesses. I put around 50%, which is more or less the same right now. It's, I think, closer to 45%. And the remaining is in the non-US stocks, including some Canada, international, emerging markets. With all of that, this is based on factual data and looking back at many years of data based on the stock market return. I don't remember off the top of my head, but you can refer back to the post that I talked about. It talks in depth about actually what the data is coming from. It's very extensive, and it has actually many parts to this series. In fact, 60-part series related to these topics that you can refer back to. Where I'm going with this is that you do see the results here. The withdrawal rate is the safe withdrawal rate that is proposed. Wherever you see the failure rate being 0, that means that on those circumstances, based on the numbers that we've keyed in, the chances of actually success is 100%. There's 0 fail. And in our instance, if you look at it across the board, whether it's since 1926, with a CAPE of under 20 or CAPE of over 20, and it talks about what CAPE is and all of that, all of them have a 0% failure rate if our withdrawal rate for our portfolio was 4.25%. In fact, even if it was at 4.5%, based on the numbers that we've inputted, still it would be very high success rate. Keep in mind, these numbers would be definitely different had I not inputted those cash flow assists. If I, for example, didn't key in any numbers for my pension or our old age security or CPP and whatnot, these percentages would be definitely a lot lower. Given that we are getting that down the road, that's why our withdrawal rate, safe withdrawal rate, is higher, even if we started withdrawing this amount as of the time that, let's say, I hit the age of around 50 or 51, let's say around 10 years or so. All right, moving on to our next topic, which is about total return. There's this article from Vanguard. It was actually from a few years ago, 2021, May of 2021. Nonetheless, I think a lot of the takeaways and conclusions of this article are quite of interest. A lot of the examples they had was from the pandemic years. Nonetheless, this is the part that I was going to actually bring to your attention. What it talks about is that based on this research, they're saying that when combined with a prudent spending rule, a total return investing strategy has several advantages compared with the with the traditional income approach. The first one is being portfolio diversification. Total return strategies are much more diversified asset classes, and they tend to be less volatile and hold up better during stock market shocks and kind of downturns. And I believe one of the key reasons to that could be the fact that, let's say, in a more traditional way of investing, you might focus a lot more on dividend paying stocks, and you're then limiting yourself so much more to those subset of stocks and businesses. Whereas if you're looking at a more of a broader market investment total return, you're not just limiting your choices to dividend-paying companies, but more so broader markets. Hence, a little bit more actually diversification and potentially less volatility. The next advantage talked about here is tax efficiency. Investors with a total return approach may pay less in taxes because part of their payment comes from capital gain. As we know, in Canada, capital gain is one of the most kind of tax efficient way of paying taxes, as opposed to dividend income, which is taxed differently. And lastly, we have a notion reference to more control over the size and timing of your portfolio withdrawals. With the total return approach, it goes to the concept of that self-made dividends, whereby you actually get to decide, all right, if you need some income, you get to withdraw it at that time and sell out a portion of your portfolio at gain, pay for the capital gain, and that's how you generate the cash flow that you need for your account, as opposed to just relying on the dividend income. And lastly, as promised, I'm going to provide a quick overview of the portfolio that my wife and I have. What we've been up to with stocks and ETFs. In this case, we've been buying over the past week. As you can see from screen, the majority of our holdings are in X equity, close to 91%, over 91% of our portfolio is in X equity. X EQT is an ETF. It's a globally diversified ETF that gives us exposure to the entire stock market, including the US stock market, Canadian stock market, emerging countries, as well as international developed countries. It's an all-in-one 100% asset allocation ETF, which means no exposure to bonds or fixed income, purely to equities. And currently, we have over $500,000 invested in that. Our total shares of X equity is just shy of 19,000. We currently have 18,920 shares of X EQT. It does pay a modest 2% dividend as well, which we are reinvesting it back into X equity every single time that we receive. X equity does pay its dividend distributions on a quarterly basis. Our next two big holdings are VTI and VT. VTI accounts for 5% of our holdings, and VT accounts for 3.6%. VTI is Vanguard Total Stock Market Index Fund. We have currently about 90 shares of it, and it's in US dollars, and we hold it in our actually account in RSP. And then we have about 152 shares roughly of VT, Vanguard Total World Stock Index Fund, and it is also held in our RSP accounts. VT and VTI are also currently in positive territory for us. VTI is our best performing holding currently at 9.7%, and then VT at 6.6%. As for our shares of XEQT, they're currently up by 4.6%. Our portfolio overall has a weighted average management expense ratio of 0.19, and you can see what is the fee associated with each of one of our three funds. Our expected dividend income currently is at $11,767, and as I indicated, they're all invested back into the same holdings that we currently have. When we look at our entire portfolio size, which is currently sitting at $577,446, majority of it is currently in our non-registered account, given just the size of our accounts, and for the most part, we've maxed out our TFSA and RSP account. My wife still has some room in her TFSA and RSP, which we are gradually maxing out over this year, but currently close to half of our portfolio size is in our non-registered account. I hope you found this video beneficial, everyone, and you gained something of value from it. If you did, I really appreciate it if you can give this video a thumbs up and share it to my channel on YouTube. If you'd like to also follow my journey along on Blossom and see exactly the trades for us as it happens, follow me on Blossom. Blossom is an amazing community of investors here in Canada and US that share their learning, investing in the stock market. They share their questions, and it's a kind of a amazing community where you can learn. There are amazing courses that you can take, many of which for free as well. And you get motivated and inspired to continue to invest, grow a larger portfolio, and work towards financial independence and financial freedom. With that, thank you so much, everyone. And I hope to see you all next time.